Hi everybody, I hope you're doing well. I am back from San Antonio. I hope you enjoyed your time with Aaron on Monday. On Monday I was walking through San Antonio, which was 34 degrees with 20-mile-per-hour winds, not enjoying myself so much. So don't worry, I wasn't basking in the sun of Texas while you guys slaved away in 50-degree weather. It was actually much colder there. Um, in any case, I'm looking forward to catching up with you somehow on January 26th, given the crazy start and schedule to the term. Building on the issues that you've been exploring so far with the Common Core standards and the Next Gen Science standards, I wanted to talk a little bit about the lesson plans today. Just a brief overview before we talk about them in class. If you go onto Blackboard and you go on the left-hand menu and you look at the left-hand side where you see Lesson Plan 1, 2, or Lesson Plan Submissions, you can see the templates. You'll see a broad number of categories when you open that document: lesson overview, materials needed, goal of the lesson, standards targeted, sketch of lesson, ideas for evaluation, role of computers, and the triad. So a lot of this we'll address in class, but briefly let me talk about each section. The lesson overview is essentially a paragraph, no more than a paragraph, which means usually 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 sentences, that concisely gives me an idea of the main goals for your lesson, including the important activities and the central ideas. This is really critical that this is well written and well conceived. Imagine that it's an outside person that is not a math education that's reading this. That's the sort of level the lesson overview should be written at. Materials needed really focuses on what technology do you need so that when you walk into the classroom, there aren't any issues going on. Of course, technology breaks. That's a rule. It always does. But what materials do you need to carry out the lesson successfully? The goal of the lesson is something that sometimes confuses people. I specifically say the way of thinking I intend to help students develop with this lesson is, I will ask you to complete that sentence. What does this mean? This means that I want you to tell me what your students will understand when they develop this lesson. This does not mean what they will be able to do. There's a big difference between the two. By understand, I mean a way of thinking, a way of understanding, a concept, so that they will be able to do certain things. Students' ability to, you do not want me to say students will be able to multiply two numbers. Students will be able to subtract this. Students will be able to recite this definition. This is a much broader focus on what kinds of conceptual understanding do you want your students to develop, not just rote or memorized learning. The standards targeted go to the NGSS or the Common Core standards, and you need to identify in your goal of your lesson what standards are you targeting. This includes both content standards, like specific mathematical knowledge, and it includes a focus on broader practices like modeling and problem solving and quantitative reasoning and abstraction and generalization. Those should be targeted there as well. The sketch of the lesson is probably the most important part of the document. It's typically roughly 2/3 of a page to a page, single-spaced, which gives an outside person a clear understanding of how you are going to carry out your lesson and how it proceeds over the course of the day. An administrator or a person from outside your discipline should be able to pick it up and understand how the logical progression of your lesson helps you accomplish the goal set out in your lesson. We'll talk more about that at length in class, but I want you to have a clear idea of what's entailed. Ideas for evaluation is something we'll discuss further, but essentially it is a check on how do you evaluate whether your students have achieved the goal that you set out? How do you know if the students have achieved the way of thinking that you intended them to develop? The next section of the role of computers is really, in this case, wide open. For the first lesson, I'm really asking that you focus on computers as a technology. That's wide open intentionally, so that you consider specifically what does the technology afford you as a teacher that you otherwise would not have. And this is probably the most crucial piece in addition to the sketch of the lesson. What is the role of technology? What does it buy you that you don't otherwise have? And the triad is something we'll discuss further in class as a way of thinking about your instruction. I hope this is a nice broad overview so that if you want to get started on your lesson, you're able to do so. Otherwise, I will check in with you soon, and I will see you on the 26th.